Hello, I'm Matt. Warm welcome and thank you for joining us as we're about to embark on a then and now locations tour to celebrate the 70th anniversary of Marilyn Monroe's visit to England.
We begin our journey at Cow Pond, right on the edge of Windsor Great Park. It was near here that Marilyn and her new husband, American playwright Arthur Miller, spent their honeymoon for about 4 months in the summer of 1956. The 4 months would become a significant period in Marilyn's tragically short life and became the subject of the 2011 film My Week with Marilyn. During this time, Marilyn was making the romantic comedy The Prince and the Showgirl at nearby Pinewood Studios with her director and co-star Sir Laurence Olivier. The film would be the screen adaptation of the Terence Rattigan play The Sleeping Prince. So we hope you enjoy our week with Marilyn as we follow in her famous footsteps. Our first stop is the beautiful Parkside House. Marilyn and Arthur were greeted by frenzied journalists as they landed at London Airport on Saturday, the 14th of July. They were then chauffeur-driven down this very lane before turning through the white gates and onto the long driveway of Parkside House. Parkside would be their ideally located home for the next 4 months. There was a photo opportunity on the front doorstep with Sir Laurence Olivier before the couple were left to recover from their flight. The property backs onto Windsor Great Park and is only about 12 miles away from the famous Pinewood Studios, making it an ideal location for the newlyweds to use as a base and to try to relax. The house, however, would become a focal point for fans, excited locals, and the world's media. Locals would often be waiting at the property's white gates at the end of the driveway, hoping to catch a glimpse of Marilyn. This is also the actual property used in the film My Week with Marilyn. We'll be returning to Parkside a couple more times later in the tour. Most of my research for this anniversary tour is from Michelle Morgan's brilliant book, When Marilyn Met the Queen. So before we left for the day, I wanted to photograph Michelle's book, where the Marilyn Won't Be Out Until 4 p.m. chalk sign had been propped up against the gates 70 years before. The next day, Marilyn and Arthur were driven from Parkside to London's Savoy Hotel for another press conference. With Olivier waiting, they were already running 45 minutes late due to the numbers of journalists on the grounds of Parkside. And when they did arrive, their car had to divert around to the embankment entrance where we are now because of the extent of the expectant crowd at the front of the hotel. At the end of the press conference, Marilyn became aware of the crowds of people outside the rear of the hotel and flung this window open so she could wave at them. There were reportedly people up trees, and one keen observer had even scaled this statue to catch a glimpse. After spending the morning studying her script at Parkside, Marilyn and Arthur attended the Lyric Theatre to see a performance of Noel Coward's South Sea Bubble starring Olivier's wife, Vivien Leigh. As was often the case at such theatre visits, audience members' eyes were on Marilyn throughout the performance. Following the play, the couple met with Olivier and Lee in the dressing room. By 10:50 p.m, when it was time for them to leave, an estimated 1,000 people had gathered at the front of the theatre and cheered as they witnessed the couple leave hand in hand through these doors. And down a police-cleared pathway to Olivier's waiting Bentley. On the 18th of July, Marilyn made her first visit here to Pinewood Studios to begin rehearsals and hair, makeup and wardrobe tests for the Prince and the Showgirl. Marilyn and her co-stars would pass through these famous gates throughout the production. The production was plagued by delays and much tension, specifically between Olivier and Monroe. Marilyn resented Olivier once telling her to just be sexy. Marilyn would often reportedly arrive considerably late here from Parkside, some days remaining absent entirely. Nonetheless, it was inside these stages that magic was made and Marilyn lit up the movie screen. The Prince and the Showgirl was released the following year in the summer of 1957. Frustratingly, some minibuses were parked right in front of the gates when we were there. But we did manage to catch a glimpse of a backlot, dressed for the 2026 Spider-Man film to make up for it. Over the following weekend, Marilyn and Arthur were driven to London's prestigious Mayfair to visit British poet Dame Edith Sitwell. 49 Grosvenor Street was once the Sesame Club, a notable meeting place popular among literary and social figures. The pair had first been introduced in Hollywood in 1953. Marilyn had expressed how much she wanted to see her again. During the journey into London, their driver took the opportunity to show them two of the royal residences, Windsor Castle and Buckingham Palace. The extended tour meant that the couple were 45 minutes late, and I'm standing here because, by looking at photos taken that day, I believe that the couple exited their car right here. Marilyn then walked the short distance along this pavement in an immaculate black dress and sunglasses with an overcoat draped around her shoulders. She passed thrilled onlookers. Some could be seen down in the front of this building before reaching the entrance of 49 Grosvenor Street. They chatted, drinking gin and grapefruit juice. Arthur thanked Dame Edith for being so kind to Marilyn when they had met 3 years before, and Marilyn told Dame Edith how in awe she was of the royal palaces. I'm now walking along the busy London road in Windlesham because playwright Terence Rattigan's former house stands at the very end of this private road, which bends off to the right and out of sight. And this unremarkable junction, which locals probably pass every day without knowing, has its own Marilyn tale to tell. On the Tuesday of the following week, Terence Rattigan hosted a lavish party at Little Court. Little Court was his grand home, which backs directly onto Sunningdale Golf Course. The property today truly looks as beautiful as ever. I won't be going down the private road, obviously, as I have no intention to trespass, but I have found these stunning photographs of the property online. Rattigan was thrilled that Marilyn had accepted his invitation and made plans for 100 guests at an eye-popping expense. The final guest list was a who's who of showbiz royalty. Olivier helped host, and Vivien Leigh also promised to attend following her performance in South Sea Bubble. I believe it was here that PC Packham was posted to turn away any uninvited guests and prevent any unauthorized access up the private road. However, PC Packham hadn't been told that Marilyn didn't need an invitation since she was the guest of honor. And when her car swung into the lane shortly after 10:30 p.m., he waved it down and asked to see invitations before granting them entry. With reporters who had followed Marilyn's car from Parkside, parked on the surrounding grass verges, a heated exchange reportedly ensued with one of her entourage who had exited the car. The penny eventually dropped when Packham could see Marilyn and Arthur in the back of the car through the open door. He belatedly gave the driver permission to carry on, and the car sped away down the driveway with the exasperated member of Marilyn's entourage hot-footing behind them. The dress Marilyn wore that night was one of the rejected gowns from the movie, and she can be seen wearing it in this photograph which was taken that evening. When Olivier commented that the dress looked familiar, Marilyn promised she'd keep it clean, just in case Olivier changed his mind about its use in the production. As promised, we're back near Parkside House in Windsor Great Park, and we're shifting from following in famous footsteps to following in famous cycle tracks. In one of her very first press conferences, Marilyn had expressed how she planned on cycling during her stay, and her comment was latched onto. The Daily Sketch had presented her with a gifted bicycle during one of the earlier press conferences, and many bike manufacturers had also subsequently sent their own models to Parkside House during the first week of her stay in the hope that Marilyn would be seen in one of their saddles. Marilyn wanted to cycle around Englefield Green, but the crowds gathered at the front gates would make it very difficult. So instead, it was pointed out that a back gate in the garden leading directly and discreetly into Windsor Great Park would evade such unwanted attention. The couple were often spotted by locals cycling along this path at the rear of Parkside House, which either takes you to Cow Pond, where we've already been, or in the other direction, past Savile Garden. One such encounter, captured in photographs, occurred right here on Sunday the 12th of August, when Daily Express photographer Harold Clements loitered at the back entrance to Parkside and managed to snap Marilyn and Arthur on their bikes. I believe the kink in the path, which can be seen in the photos, is this kink in the distance, and the path is also on a slight incline, which marries with Marilyn's need to be out of the saddle. As I was about to leave, I noticed that you can access the strip of parkland between the path and the private property of Parkside that the couple would have navigated on their discreet attempts to escape. So I had a look, whilst observing and respecting the private property signs on the boundary of Parkside House itself, and trudged my way through the nettles and thorn branches to eventually be rewarded with another angle of the house. We'd need to move on again shortly, but I felt strangely attached to Parkside. I was debating whether to come back and perhaps leave some flowers for Marilyn and present a gift to Parkside's current owners. In the end, I do decide to return to the house. So please make sure you stick around to the end of the tour, because what happened was beyond my wildest hopes. So, for now, with a thorn stuck between my toes, we headed for some lunch. This location is one of fiction, but it is relevant nonetheless. As we were in the area, we stopped at the pub that doubles up as Colin Clark's fictional digs in My Week with Marilyn. In one of the final scenes of the film, Marilyn enters to say goodbye to Colin at this very bar. Many other TV shows have also been filmed here, and we highly recommend a visit if you are recreating this tour or happen to be in the area. The food was superb and the staff were very nice too. So, pay them a visit! We're back in the West End at the Harold Pinter Theatre, which was formerly the Comedy Theatre. With Marilyn deep in the production of The Prince and the Showgirl, preparations for Arthur Miller's controversial play A View from the Bridge were underway right here. On the 9th of September, Arthur and Marilyn were driven here from Parkside to attend a press conference and launch the production. Miller's play was not granted a license by the Lord Chamberlain due to themes of homosexuality, so the production would be presented by the New Watergate Theatre Club, with club membership required to view private performances of the play. Marilyn sat with Arthur and some of the cast on the stage. During an interval in proceedings, she signed the very first club membership form and paid her 5-shilling subscription for her membership. Due to the pressures of both of their building workloads, the newlyweds kept separate bedrooms at Parkside, so not to disturb each other when working on their respective projects. Even on his days off, Miller would often feel the need to go to Pinewood to help iron out any on-set issues between Olivier and Marilyn. Nevertheless, the play opened on the 11th of October. Marilyn took an unauthorized day off to be able to ready herself for the evening. And even then, Marilyn would not slip into her final scarlet gown, one of her favorites, until after food and drinks at the Olivier's, who would also attend, despite Olivier's annoyance at yet another day of hampered production. By the time the VIPs arrived, the front of the theatre was crammed with hysterical onlookers, 10 deep in places, much like 3 months before outside the Lyric. After much surging and jostling, the party exited their car and made their way to the crammed theatre lobby. It would take some time for the party to pass the bottleneck of theatre goers and for everyone to take their seats, and the premiere would eventually start 15 minutes late. As I mentioned earlier, I felt compelled to return to the beautiful Parkside House. I eventually plucked up the courage to walk down the long driveway with a gift in each arm and knocked on the door where the arrival photos had been taken almost 70 years before. With no answer at the front door, a temporary sign on the door directed me to the staff accommodation at the rear, where I met the housekeeper. I presented her with 2 flowers, a pink one for the family and a red one for Marilyn. Although the homeowners were away at the time, she gave me permission to spend a moment at the front of the house and take some incredible footage. At this point, being so close to the house, I knew I'd fallen in love with it. This house is as remarkable as it is beautiful, and you cannot tell the story of Marilyn Monroe without referencing it. This is where she spent 4 months of her tragically short life on her honeymoon overseas, making one of her most ambitious films. It was on this very forecourt that Marilyn and Arthur were serenaded through their bedroom window one summer's evening by trespassing Shoreditch Training College students. Eventually, the arrival of the tipped-off police would disperse the students into the cover of the surrounding gardens. It was here, 6 weeks into their stay, that the event, which would later be described as the beginning of the end of their marriage, occurred, when Marilyn stumbled upon Miller's negative comments about her in his open journal. Over the subsequent days, Marilyn reportedly entered an emotional spiral. Upon hearing of a rift between the couple, locals thought to bring flowers to the gates to cheer her up. In discovered notes of hers written on Parkside House stationery, she referenced her episodes of insomnia and was musing life and death. Shortly afterwards, Marilyn was reportedly taken to a local hospital, having possibly overdosed on her medication. This had led to a period of recuperation at the house and coincides with her first absence from set in late August. It was on the 20th of November that Marilyn would emerge through this door for the final time. She'd kissed every staff member on the cheek. A young musical student named Alan had been recommended and taken on as her pianist to provide musical accompaniment for Marilyn whenever she was rehearsing the film's musical pieces at Parkside. The pair had bonded, and Marilyn presented him with a card and pen gift set when saying goodbye. She also said goodbye to the Parkside goldfish that she'd often fed and covered up at night. Marilyn had arrived at Parkside just as the goldfish had been born. Before I left, I said goodbye to the white front door that Marilyn had often passed through. And with that, our week with Marilyn had come to an end. On reflection, before starting this project, I had probably underestimated just how significant a period this was in Marilyn's life. 4 months in the tragically cut short life of a 36-year-old is a considerable proportion. And when that life is as remarkable as Marilyn Monroe's was, the time she spent here is all the more fascinating. Following in her footsteps and celebrating the 70th anniversary of that period has been an unforgettable experience, and we hope you enjoyed the tour as much as we enjoyed making it.
If you did, please give us a like and a subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Take care.